finished up the Genesis in AMA on the consolidation, and I think we probably had 50, 60, 70 plus Genesis numbers in that VC. It went on for like 90-ish minutes. I think generally feedback was positive, and everyone's happy and bullish about what's to come. And I think for the rest of the community, what probably makes sense is I don't think Amresh and I will be able to do it justice. So what I think might be best is we let Genesis kind of stew on it, sit on it for a week, give them a chance to answer, ask questions, digest, and I think we can give Shan the opportunity to come back next week and speak to the rest of the community about his plans, because this is really Shan's baby from the beginning.
I think what we can talk about is like the process behind it, right? Just to touch on some of the points that was brought up in the last call that we had with the Genesis, right? It's not a simple process to go through, right? It's not just to say, okay, this is what we're doing and we do it, right? The process is more along the lines of
Amresh, did we lose you? Yeah, I think we did temporarily, so I'm sure he'll come back. So Bones, in terms of minutes, might be best if you wait till the recording in Genesis gets posted up, or the AMA recap that RNA is going to post. But yeah, like I said, if I kind of try to go into it, I don't think I'll give it justice. And just kind of what Shan covered, he pulled a presentation together today, and he spoke about, first of all, why he wanted to do this, the problems that he's trying to address with the current collection, the fragmentation with the many collections that we have under PG, and the benefits that will come with the solution that's being offered.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
You're back.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'm back. I'm not dead. Just to answer any of the questions, Scaviola, the reactions was good. A lot of questions, which was good. A lot of feedback, that points that we have to consider. So it generally was a good session, just as an introductory into where our mind is and what needs to be done to address some of the challenges that we face. So so a lot of it was some good feedback, some stuff that brought into light what direction we're looking to go into. But as I was mentioning before I got cut off, is that it's not a simple process where we just go to take. What we have to take into consideration is all the different collections that we have. Make sure to bring across the utility for each collection, and then have into consideration the opportunities and challenges that we'll face from all the different user perspectives and the user utilities that we offer, right? So all of these things are taken into consideration over the next couple months. Just to touch on as well that, coming from all of the lessons learned over the last 1.5 to 2 years, it's now, putting all of that into to what we understand about NFTs, the future of Web3, and putting that into the right platform as we kind of scale moving up into this new frontier of where this has to go. So it's just an amalgamation of all the lessons learned and what we could have done differently back then to where we are today. So it's a really big milestone in our path, but I just wanted to iterate the kind of due diligence, thought consideration before even putting something out there, much less the process to get it there. So I hope you guys can appreciate and understand that. Right. But Sak and I are here to answer any questions. We weren't really touching too much into the dynamics of the new collection, but any other questions about how is that process going along? What are some of the things that we're working on? We're here to answer any of these questions you guys may have. Right, let me just go through the chats here. Yeah, so the recordings will be there for the Gen 1. We recorded it as well. I see that King has recorded it himself. So you'll post that out there for everyone to have a look at and give critique. And then we will provide an opportunity as well as you go along this process. We mentioned that we'll have these test groups available for people to apply into to look at the different facets of this. Art is one, utility is two, marketing is three, financial and cost consideration is four. All of these things are the different feedback loops that we want to have where everyone has a voice inside. So that when we do come out, because with the consolidation is a pretty unique perspective, right? One is for building the foundations within the PG community first, and then moving out into the general public after, right? So it is to providing that support system first within our ecosystem, and then we can go forward to the wider space eventually with how we expect it to move forward. Okay, let me see if I could get into that question. The new collection is a 10K supply. So if it's true, then the PG collection only has supply currently. So in a 10K, there will be less unique holders. Each one would hold a couple NFTs. So that's the goal, right? The best use case scenario is to have as much unique holders as possible, because as much unique holders is, the biggest reach that we can possibly have. However, with the utility system and the tier system being Discord rules, those are things that we want to address in terms of how weighted someone is in the system and then affording them the rights that they have with that weighting. So we have some dynamics and mechanisms in place for that, right? So some of it will be one-to-ones, right? Like the Jiraverse. And as you move forward into like what the Genesis would have would be 10-to-ones. Of course, all these are subjects to look at as we continue this process further and further. But it's less unique holders is what would help the liquid, providing a liquid asset as we have right now. So those are the kind of things that it's just thoughts that goes into it, but it's what we think the best way for us to get the kind of reach that we need. Yeah. Any other questions, guys? Good question, Achint. Any questions about the market, the NFT space? What you guys' perspective on these type of things? For the guys who just joined, Shan, he will pop in, right? It won't be a long AMA because he just finished 90 minutes one with the Genesis holders. He's on the road right now, so he just said to hold on a bit. He'll be there in about 30 minutes, 20 minutes. I see a couple of guys are typing here. We're aiming for an internal deadline at the end of this year, right? So we want to do all of the branding, all of the creative design aspects of it, all of the utility considerations by the end of this year. And then from there, one of the things that we really want to ramp up is our testing loop, right? So things like feedback about the project, right? And now talked about some of that feedback loop that goes into the pre-consideration. but then all of the technological testing in terms of making sure everything is right before we do that. The priority aspect of this consolidation is, I think, I want to say two aspects. One is simplifying the project, which we know has been the biggest challenge from day one, right? Somebody wants to come into the ecosystem, they don't know where to start in terms of, understanding what we have. And secondly, as well, combining that with art, right? We want to talk about the provenance of the art that we have, the artwork behind it, the quality of the art. So we still want to be known as the biggest utility in the space and one of the most dynamic utility. But now we want to bridge that with one of the missing factors that we have, which is, a recognizable PFP and we have the Gen 1 PFP, we have the Gen 2 PFP, we have the Jira PFP, but all represent all different sides of the project. We want to have that all consolidated into one unique project that don't matter on a social space or, a globalized space like Twitter. It all leads back to one collection. And then from within there's an entry position for anyone. And then they can understand what the entries are based on the roles that they have. So I hope that answers your question, Thomas.
Yeah, part of it was and is related to kind of the likeness to the Godzilla IP and the need to move away from that. Yeah, that was kind of has been a limiting factor for us. So that's a big consideration. And
Yeah.
up until now, the art has been great. I think we all have fallen in love with it for all of us OGs. But to some extent, it's all been driven by community. And I think for those who aren't part of this community and who haven't seen it up and close, there are a lot who don't think it's all that good. And we want to address that by bringing in the best artists that we can with the best art directors and art advisors that we can to produce an artwork that is very premium and can stand with the best in the Web3 space.
So you guys have some more questions coming in.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah, I can.
So in terms of the artwork, no, I guess we're not in a position to talk about teases yet. We're still very early stages and looking at different artists that we could potentially onboard into this project. So yeah, it really would be towards the end of the year where we might be able to start sharing teases and things like that.
Yeah, we're looking at a brand as well. Like what type of brand we want to do to be completely different from what exists, right? So one of the things that was addressed today is that we don't just want to be Azuki has really mastered the anime type art, right? And that pose and that structure. We look at projects that has some sort of derivatives from it, like at Atama, that once comes to mind immediately. There's a lot of so close consideration that there's no unique prospectus with it. So we want to have our own unique identity that no one can say this is just a spin-off of Azuki or a spin-off of some type of brand. So we want to get that branding part in terms of what is our creative direction, in terms of a unique character that everyone can feel proud of, still holding true to our existing concepts, right? We're not a Godzilla brand, but we're a monster brand, right? So we still want to hold some traits and aspects related to that. But of course, we want to tap into this humanoid aspect of where we are. So a lot of all of these discussions we're having right now. And as I said, we want to match that with the provenance of a good artist. So we're in the stages of, interviewing and selecting artists before we even go into the creative direction of what we want to be.
Okay, so there's a question from Mr. Bunny Jia about our investments in respective projects and how they've been doing. So I suppose, first of all, the comment on this is that all of the projects in Web3, especially when you talk about it from an equity standpoint, it's still very early, right? And when you talk about early stage investing into equity, you can't really think about returns just yet. It's not like a stock that is IPO'd and has dividends or capital gains. First of all, these are very illiquid. And secondly, just in terms of how the Web3 space has been forming, and you just have to look at where we are relative to all-time highs on Bitcoin, ETH, etc. Things are down. So crypto project valuations are down as well. If you look at some of the biggest Web3 projects in their space and how their valuations are now compared to their peaks, I'll give you a couple examples, right? So OpenSea last raised at 13 billion valuation. And I've seen that their current valuation, so if you want to buy a piece of them now, which can only happen in very large ticket sizes, it's roughly, those trades are happening like a $3 billion valuation. For Animoca Brands, where their peak or their last raise was probably at a 7 billion val, those are currently traded on secondary at 1.5 billion. So in terms of Web3 project valuations, just with the whole space, everything is a lot lower now. And as I keep on saying, we're here for the long term. We're investing for the long term. A lot of our investments have to do with strategic partnerships and investing to work together with other projects and leveraging each other's relationships, networks, etc., so that we can kind of mutually benefit and mutually grow. And the objective is that as more users come into the space, as Web3 grows, like we all think it will, then the valuations will reflect that in 1 year's, 2 years, 3 years' time.
Right, let me just answer some of the other questions as we come along, right? So yeah, because to answer Wicca question, we want to move away from the lizard art because of the barriers that exist for us scaling up. Yes, we're good now. There has been no problems. But if we do want to become the powerhouse that we want to do, we're going to attract the eyes of the Godzilla IP. And in preparation for that, we don't want to have any kind of barriers that exist. I'll give you an example. We've been approached by significant luxury brands in the past to do, for example, merch partnerships. But just because we don't want to reach the grounds of the IP lawyers of the Godzilla IP, we didn't want to explore it because it'll bring us to light. So all these kind of barriers that has hampered us in the past, where we were very hesitant to make decisions with that, we think that just don't provide an avenue of FUD where it needs to happen, right? Especially if we can change it. So as we move forward with this new collection, right, we want to move away from the Godzilla theme, right? What does that design look like? We're not in a position to say just yet. But that's one of the considerations that we have in terms of what we want to do, right? It's exactly as Roger said, we want to move away from that Godzilla theme. And yeah, it's the 10K collection is a consolidation, not a dilution like what most of the other space is doing, right? So it's not going to be something that people are trying to onboard new people or whatever. We just want to consolidate all of our collections into one, and then we have a strategy in place for moving forward with that after, right? So I hope that answers some of the questions that you guys were posing there. With the brand name, right? It's still a topic of consideration because we moved away from Gojira with the PG brand in anticipation of this in the past, but we not to cement on terms of that. I think that we do want to keep the brand name, and the brand remains the same because a brand isn't just content and that looks like that. We want to look and see if we can keep that brand of PG and what we have built so far, but change the different avenues of approach to it.
So I think Wicco, to your question, yes, PG is a reference to the old brand that we had, but as much as we try to avoid it, I think it's very difficult to not say Gojira a lot of times because that's how we've grown up with the project and that's how we remember it. But officially, I think we're trying to move away from using Gojira as a name on all our socials and our public presence in this space. Amresh, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Similar to the labs as a parent company, the Gods Youths being collections under the labs. Similar, right? But now we only have one collection, right? So PG as a parent company, we may have a different name for the collection, right? And that's so somewhat similar, but not as similar, right? A metadata update, it's a completely new contract, right? Because we want to just to tease you guys against some other stuff that we have coming along. We want to explore a new type of contract with the ERC 6551, right? So we have some ideas around that we want to put out into place. So as we kind of move forward with the times and innovation, right, there's some barriers of innovation with the existing contract as well. So some of the utilities we want to explore is tied towards a new type of contract that we do want to explore as we move forward with some stuff. So it'll be a totally new contract. Yeah, there, Jikat. It's one of the handcuffs, right? Having a small collection means having a different variety of voices in the space, right? So the Genesis holder with its own unique PFP, and then the Gen 2 holder with its own unique PFP. There's no singular tie in terms of what is this project about. So all these things we want to address with the new 10K collection. Maybe I can show. Yeah, so based on your holdings, you would get a ratio in terms of how much NFTs dropped to you. But our dissertation between the entire 10K drop would be the different Discord rules that we would have in the server, and therefore offer different use cases for it. So that way somebody could there's no different entry into the system. There is a single entry, and then based on your holdings, and then we have some other aspect of it, then you would get the different side of what in PG that you're most interested in. Yeah, so it'll be a burn for these new drops. That's correct. right? So that's what a consolidation is and not a dilution. If us doing a new drop with these existing drops makes us diluting the ecosystem. But we want to take a different approach, which is consolidating all the entire system into one singular system. The Vox and Reverse will be considered as part of the 10K drop. Yes. So there won't be any type of outside children for PG. Yeah, so the fully fleshed out details will come later on, of course. Right now, we're just going to do the testing, show people our product vision boards, our business model canvases, feedback, iterate it as much as possible. And again, remember this entire consolidation affects PG holders, not really affects the space. So we're using a very customer-centric side where you guys will be the one to dictate exactly what it is you want out of this collection. And balancing that, of course, with our plans. And then from there, we then roll that out. We're looking at Q4 of this year, right? Of course, things are liable to change, but we have already started the very start of it, which is, first picking a creative director, understanding the brand that we need. Then we're moving on for that. So it's a work in progress, but we have started that aspect of it. But we just wanted to bring forward our plans before we move forward, so that everybody have a chance to get their voice heard in terms of what this direction is and some of the topics that we need to take into consideration.
Maybe one thing worth mentioning is that we really feel as though this should help to level the playing field, right? I think Gen 2s have to some extent felt like they've been devalued as we release Fusion and other things. To some extent, Spit Buddies. Now, if we have one unified collection, then everyone will kind of have a piece of that collection. What represents whether you're a whale or not is not having a Genesis or a Fusion or Fusions versus a Gen 2, but just how many of that singular collection you hold, which will be much more like other 10K collections like Pudgies and Bases and things like that. On the DAO question, I believe we'll still maintain the 3 separate DAOs. There's no plan to merge them into a singular DAO at this point.
There are different benefits, right? Of course, with the new contract comes a whole new aspects of offerings that we want to do, right? We talked about things like the loyalty programming, the gamified aspects of what some of the things that we want to have. So, coming with different trades, different contract, and the unique idea of how we keep our Genesis being, a very distinguished aspect of our project. All of these things would kind of symbolize into what it is we want. So to answer if there would be different benefits, that's the point of wanting to look at a new contract so that we can offer new possibilities of different utilities and how we plan to give that out. So I do suspect that there will be different mechanics moving forward because new innovation comes with the different possibilities that we can have.
Ken, do you know Shan's coming? So
He should be. He mentioned he was driving, so he will be here in about 20-30 minutes.
Did he? Yeah, I don't know if he confirmed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he may or may not come. So let's see what happens. He may pop back in.
He had trouble with his laptop, and I'll send him a WhatsApp.
Yeah. He just kind of asked Amresh and I to step in.
All right.
This is the new art. But yeah, so hopefully some of these things answer you guys. We're still playing around with some ideas. This is not one of the idea, just to make it clear. But yeah, so it's about just pivoting and innovating as the space move forward, right? Launching a year and a half ago meant that there were lack of innovation in terms of our possibilities as the technology improved, as as new contract types comes out for us to navigate through it. We just decide to, that's our decision into innovating along the space as we go along. Ken, there's a question about the tokenomics. You want to take a stab at it?
Yeah, I think it's too early to say. I think in terms of tokenomics, there are a lot of moving parts. So I'm not going to comment on that just yet. Yeah, there's no, it won't affect the marketplace or how you use the marketplace at least in the short term. I mean, 6 months away from now is a long time, so things can change. But the intention is to add features and to improve the marketplace, and hopefully as the bull market comes back, then that will become again a core value proposition for PG.
Yeah, we want to keep all the existing utilities that we have, right? So as we kind of develop the mechanics of this new collection, it's to work with all of the existing utilities, whether it be the Jira Exchange, the Discord communities, and the channels that we have here, PG Capital. So all of those things would be kept in play with this new style that we want to go into. Yeah, maybe you can incorporate it as a placeholder while the mint is going on. I have my vote on that as well. All right, so if anybody has any more questions, all right. If not, I think we can kind of wrap this up, Ken.
Yeah.
All right, so let's leave a little 5 minutes again. Any more questions anyone has? Anything that they need clarity or confirmation on? Maverick is here to answer.
All right. Good night, guys.
Yeah, maybe good to call it a day. I'm going to make a recap of the VC held earlier in Genesis chat, and I'll pass it by the team. And posted somewhere in the coming days.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
sounds good. Okay, guys, we'll chat soon.
Good night.